All right, everybody, welcome back. This is day 2 of solving rational equations. I'm just going to work out a couple problems for you today. I wanted to see you guys to see a little bit more with our quadratics. I'm guessing you probably have some questions on checking those solutions. So I wanted to see where we had some more extraneous solutions and hopefully answer a few of your questions there. So let's go ahead and dig into this right away. Right away, I see the quadratic here. And the name of the game really, factoring. You guys have seen this since day one. That's what we started with on this unit. So when you see something like that, right away you should be saying, all right, can I factor that quadratic? You know I like to use this big X. It helps me organize my thoughts. So I want to see what factors of negative 30 at 1. Let's think about that for a second. See if you guys can come up with it on your own. And what's jumping out to me right away is 5 and 6. And let's see, if I make that 6 positive and that 5 negative, that's going to give me a sum of 1. All right, so let's go ahead and rewrite this guy. We have 5x over x minus 5 plus 4 over x plus 6 equals 54x plus 5 over x plus 6 and x minus 5. All right, now hopefully you are just like me thinking, hey, that is awesome, because each of these binomials are factors of themselves, and we have these two right here. So that's our common denominator, which means all I got to do is multiply this guy right here times x minus 5. And this is the important one, right? So that's going to give us our new equation. This guy right here times x plus 6. And this guy times here times x plus 6. All right, now remember, once we get that common denominator, this is what's new about solving, and this is what's nice about solving these guys. Once we get that common denominator, okay, we can take the numerators and make our new equation. So 5x times x plus 6, and then we have plus 4 times x minus 5 equals 54x plus 5. All right, that looks nice. We got rid of those fractions. We got an equation. Let's go ahead and distribute. Distribute, yes, we are going to get a quadratic here. I hope you guys are as excited as I am to practice solving quadratics. 5x squared plus 30x plus 4x minus 20 equals 54x plus 5. All right. So when we have a quadratic, again, don't freak out. Remember, everything goes to one side of the equation. And then we can either factor or use the quadratic formula. So I'm going to simplify what we can here. Let's see, 5x squared, that's the only x squared term, plus 30 plus 4x, 34x, minus 20. And now we can move these guys over. We have 54x plus 5. Let's get that to the other side. Minus 54x minus 5. I'm going to line these up with my like terms. All right, and here we go is our simplified quadratic equation, 5x squared. And 34 minus 54 gives me minus 20x. Negative 20 minus 5 is minus 25. Ooh, I like that. And I like that because they're all multiples of 5. So that means I can factor out this 5, and I can factor that quadratic very quickly once I do that. Love that. All right. Again, you guys know I like my big X. I need two factors that multiply to negative 5, add up to negative 4, and this should hopefully jump out because there's not a lot of options for negative 5. Negative 5 times 1. And here are our factors then. Notice that 5 we factored out just stays right there. It's not going to affect our solutions in any way, but it is part of our factored form. So once we get that, our factored form, we can set each one of those guys equal to 0 and solve. X minus 5 equals 0. X plus 1 equals 0. Plus 5 plus 5 minus 1 minus 1. X equals positive 5 and negative 1. But remember, we are not done here, guys. We have to go back and check that original equation and see if I plug either of these in, do I get a 0 in the denominator? So go back, plug these guys into those original denominators, okay? And we can see that when we plug in x equals 5, so if x equals 5, that first denominator, let's try to make that look like a D, equals 5 minus 5. That's exactly what we cannot have happen. Therefore, five is extraneous. Some of you guys aren't sure what this word means or what it means. It just means that it's not a proper solution. Okay? It's something when we cancel those denominators, it made it seem like a solution, but when we go back to original problem, it's not actually a solution. So just like we've done in the past, remember, we're going to make that very clear. That's not a solution. And let's write our final solution as that solution set, which is just going to be negative 1. All right. So take some time with that. If you have questions, just go ahead and shoot me an email. I'll be happy to reply to you on those. All right, and let's do one more together. So this looks pretty similar to the last one. You guys can pause it. You can work this one on your own and then double check if you want. I'm going to factor that denominator first. Negative 6 on the top, positive 1 on the bottom. This one jumps out to me right away too. And notice, guys, how nice this ends up working out, just like our last one. They won't always be like this, but it is nice when we see stuff and see some patterns, we see some similarities. And here's our factor form, x plus 3 and x minus 2. So just like we did before, get our common denominator, then we can cancel out those denominators. So here's our common denominator. So that means this one needs to be x minus 2, x minus 2. This one needs the x plus 3, x plus 3. All right. Now, once we get that, all these denominators are the same. Take those numerators. Let's make our new equation. And again, this makes this so much easier to work with because now we don't have any fractions. Those of you guys that just like algebra and systems for things and steps, you're probably loving this right now because we have a good system here. We have some great strategies here, and we've really been reusing these strategies throughout each of these different topics. Distribute, 3x squared plus 9x plus 2x squared minus 4x equals 30. When my computer starts doing operating slow, I get really bad penmanship from this guy. All right, let's simplify. 3x squared plus 2x squared, 5x squared. 9x minus 4x is 5x. And I'm going to just go ahead and subtract this 30 over right away. And there we go. And look at this, just like last time. We can factor out a 5, and this makes our life so much easier. Let's do that. I'm going to leave a 1 here. And we're going to factor. Again, I need factors negative 6 to add up to positive 1. That's going to be positive 3, negative 2, and we get 5 times x plus 3 and x minus 2 equals 0. Set those factors equal to 0. X plus 3 equals 0. X minus 2 equals 0. And we get x equals negative 3 and positive 2. Don't forget our check now, guys. Go back up to that original. Plug them in. Plug in x equals -3 and x equals 2. Watch what happens. This is crazy. That's what we got, right? -3 and 2. If I plug into that first denominator, x minus 2, if I plug in 2, the denominator equals 0. In that second denominator, if I plug in x equals -3, the denominator equals 0. So that means that both of these are extraneous. Okay, we haven't seen that before, but that's possible. Look what just happened. That means not a solution, not a solution. So that means that there is no real solution. I have to write really slowly. There we go. You can kind of read that now. The computer's slowing down. And there we go. And that's why it's so important to check those answers. So you may be frustrated because we did all that work, but that was good practice. And that's our answer, that there's no real solution to that equation. All right, guys, try some more out in your homework. Thank you for tuning in today.